You are now part of the Link Church. Genesis 39, I'm going to read verses 1 through 6. If you have not found Genesis yet, just fake it, okay? And at the end, we'll have an altar call specifically for those who did not find Genesis. Okay. Now Joseph had been brought down to Egypt, and Potiphar, an officer of Pharaoh, the captain of the guard, an Egyptian, had brought him from the Ishmaelites who had brought him down there. The Lord was with Joseph, and he became a successful man, and he was in the house of his Egyptian master. His master saw that the Lord was with him, and that the Lord caused all that he did to succeed in his hands. So Joseph found favor in his sight and attended him. And he made him overseer of his house and put him in charge of all that he had. From the time that he made him overseer in his house and over all that he had, the Lord blessed the Egyptian's house for Joseph's sake. The blessing of the Lord was on all that he had in house and field. So he left all that he had in Joseph's charge, and because of him, he had no concern about anything but the food that he ate. You may be seated. We're still in our series titled Journey, and this is part 2. I don't have a subtitle. We're just going to call it Journey, part 2. In part 1, we were introduced to Joseph, and Joseph had a dream. And a dream is nothing more than a glimpse of the end without the middle. Somebody shout that with me. A dream is nothing more than a glimpse of the end without the middle. The middle is the journey. And that's what we're looking at now. We're looking at the journey because guess what? There is no end without the journey. All right? There is no destiny without the journey. You can't arrive at a location without actually traveling there, okay? This is not a genie in a bottle life that we live, okay? Even though you want to be somewhere, it doesn't matter if God showed it to you, if you made it up yourself, you cannot snap and just be there. You're going to actually have to take a trek. You're going to actually have to take a journey. As we defined last week, that a journey is nothing more than leaving one place and arriving at another. It's nothing more than leaving one location and arriving at another location. But the term journey is typically reserved for a travel or a trek that is somewhat arduous. A travel or a trek that is somewhat hard, it's hot, it's painful, it's sticky, it's sweaty, it's hard, it's unbearable, it's uncomfortable. That's what a journey is. And we're studying the life of Joseph and looking at his journey on how he went from the pit to the palace. And guess what? His journey was ugly. It wasn't a journey that any one of us that we would choose. None of us would raise our hand and say, you know what, I want to take the journey that Joseph took. But at the end of the day, to be honest with you, if many of us looked at our own lives just to see how we got to this point here, I don't know about you, but I wouldn't even raise my hand and to volunteer for my own journey. Am I the only? Okay, nobody. I'm the only one. Okay, I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The rest of y'all, you are excited and you're happy about everything you went through. But Lindale, I wouldn't volunteer for my own journey. But I realized something about my own journey and about the journey that Joseph had, and even about the journey that you had, whether you realize it or not, is that a journey is inevitable. It's inevitable. There's no way that, Marvin, that I can get anywhere without the journey. It's not something that we can bypass. It doesn't matter how ugly the journey is. It doesn't matter how messy the journey is. It doesn't matter how hot the journey is. It doesn't matter how long it's going to take. It doesn't matter how much it costs. Guess what? You will not arrive at any destination without the journey. Why? Somebody said because it's inevitable. And guess what? There are parts of the journey that you don't control, nor can you prepare for.
Amen. Come on.
Joseph, as we ended last week, that he was in a pit, and then he was sold to the Ishmaelites, slave traders. And now he finds himself in Egypt. But guess what? That was not a place in the journey that he could prepare for. There's no way that you can by your brothers. There's no way that you can prepare for being on the auction block, sitting up here doing like this and bending over, and they trying to get sold, trying to get an extra money. You know, Marvin, you remember how you used to do that back in the day? They trying to get sold. There's no way that you can prepare for this. There are some parts of our journey that you can't read a book for, that you can't take a class for, that the sermon won't get you ready for. It's just going to be part of the journey. Joseph found himself in a place that was just part of the journey. It wasn't a place that he could bypass. It wasn't anything that he could just say, you know what, I wish I could have just not had to deal with all this, but it was part of the journey. And sometimes we can read stories like Joseph and just kind of be like, okay, God, now why in the world did you have to do all this just to get him to Egypt? Why in the world did you have to do all this just to get him promoted, just to get his dream fulfilled? And I don't know about you, but I've asked those same questions about my life. Even as I was preparing this message, I even asked God, you know, why did we have to deal with what we had to deal with as a church? How come you couldn't have just blessed us with this building, right? How come what are you talking about, Pastor? We got kicked out of our building in the mall, all because of Jessica. No, it wasn't Jessica. But if you go into the urban mall right now and you go on the second floor, you'll see this big bounce house place, right? Guess what? That's where we used to be. That used to be the home of the Link Church. But guess what? They sent me an email one day that said, hey, you got 30 days to get out. Just like that. And looking back, hindsight, it's always 2020. That was just part of the journey. Guess what? The journey to get here was inevitable. There was nothing that we could do about it, Sherry, even though now we can say, okay, God, how about what if we could have just ended the lease, and then you could have gave me a dream that said, go to Las Colinas and get the warehouse and remodel it. But God said, no, that's not the journey that I have for you. But guess what? The journey, the part that you can't prepare for, that's actually what makes you who you are. That's actually what makes you strong. The reason why the Link Church had the faith that we have is because of that part of the journey. And while we're looking at Joseph's life, the reason why he had so much faith and trust in God, it was because of what he went through in the journey. He was in places that he should have died in the pit. He should have never made it to Egypt. He should have never got to a place where he was promoted. All of those pit stops, guess what? There's pit stops along the journey, and all of the pit stops have purpose. All of your pit stops in your life have purpose. Because guess what? God could have caused you to avoid so much stuff. The divorce, he could have caused you to avoid all of that. Yes. Because he knew it. He had foresight. I'm teaching this morning, whether you like it or not. You could have avoided the divorce. Why? Because all God would have had to do is say, it's not going to work out. Don't marry him. But somehow he allowed you to marry him. And guess what? Now it's part of the new chapter in your book. It's what made you stronger. It's what gave you the faith you have today. The fact that you lost your job. That's what made you go apply for another job. That's what made some of you go start the business. You took the money from your 401k after you lost your job and they paid it out, and then you went and started a business and now you're successful right now. It's because you didn't see any promotion in your career. That's what caused you to go back to school. You weren't satisfied with where you were, and you realized that I wasn't going to get to where I wanted to go without the bachelor's degree, or you realized I wasn't going to get to where I wanted to go without my master's degree, without my doctorate, so you went back to school because of your situation. Well, guess what? God could have elevated you without going back to get the master's. He could have elevated you without going back to school, but he decided this is part of your journey, and that part of the journey is what made you who you are today. Somebody thank God for your journey. The journey is inevitable. Trust is the key to an unbroken relationship with Jesus during the journey. Trust. Somebody shout trust. Trust. Faith. Somebody shout faith. Faith. Trust. It's interchangeable. We ended up getting in a conversation on Thursday night about trust. So I thought about that while I was preparing this message, because I thought about Joseph and I'm like, man, out of all the stuff that he went through, we have no record of him giving up on God. No record whatsoever. No record of him being in the pit and giving up. No record of him getting pulled out the pit, getting sold, and wanting to give up on God. Now, keep in mind, when Joseph went to the pit, he was only 17 years old. Wow. He was 17 years old when he started this journey to going from the pit to the palace. So it made me think about, where in the world did he get this faith? Where in the world did he get this trust? Because at 17 years old, it wasn't his experience that caused him to have the faith to not give up on God. It wasn't the relationship that he had with God, because it wasn't long enough. I mean, let's just say he really understood God at maybe 13 or 14, so now about 3 years, but he had no experience that would have caused him to have this deep trust and this deep faith. Nothing had ever went bad. As far as all we know, he had a gravy life. Wow, he was walking around with a coat of colors. He was the favorite child. He wasn't even going out to the field. All his daddy had him doing was going out. He was just coming back snitching. It doesn't say he was sweating. He wouldn't say he was working hard or nothing. So as far as we know, he had an easy life. He never really been in a position to where he just had to have faith in God, to where he had to trust in God. So what do you do to my new believers, to my young Christians, to my new people who just put their faith? What do you do on the journey when you find yourself in a place where you need to trust God, have faith in God, but you don't have the experience? The only thing that I can think of that Joseph at 17 years old had to hold on to while he was in the pit, the only thing that I can think of that he had to hold on to while he was in the back of that hot trailer with some Ishmaelite slave trade, the only thing that I can think of that he had to hold on to was the testimonies and the stories of those who had went before him. That's the only thing that I can think of that he had. The only thing that I can think of is that he remembered the stories of what God did in his grandfather Abraham's life. The only thing that I can think of was that he remembered and recalled the testimonies of what God had did in his grandfather Isaac's life. The only thing that I can think of is he remembered what God had done in the life of his father. So sometimes you don't have the experience, you don't have the personal testimonies that will keep you while you're in the pit or while you're in the back of the slave trader's trailer. So all you have to go on, Kiara, is what God has done in the life of other people around me and people who have went before me. And guess what? That's all you need to hold on to God while you're on this journey. Because guess what? I've realized that if God did something for somebody else, then he can do it for me. Hey, you ain't no better than me. You sure don't look better than me. And ain't no way you probably smell better than me right now. So if God did it for you, then guess what? I know he can do it for me. If he kept you while you were in your pit, he can keep me while I'm in my pit. If he healed you, then guess what? I know that he can heal me. If he delivered you from the bottle, he can deliver me from the bottle. If he delivered you from your sin, he can deliver me from my sin. Why? Because I know the same God that you serve is the same God that I serve.
Yes, sir.
So the journey, it's inevitable. You can't bypass it. You got to endure what comes along with it. You can't do anything about the part that you can't control, because God is the ultimate one in control. And it's the trust and the key to our unbroken relationship with God. So as we look at verse 1, open your Bibles, open your apps, let's look at it. As we look at verse 1, it starts off and says what? Now Joseph had been brought where? Down to Egypt. Somebody shout down. He went down. Down caught my attention. Because when you're moving forward, you can find yourself in a place where other people, including yourself, can see you and you can feel like you're down. But according to God's plan, you can actually be all the way up. Look at somebody say, you all the way up. It just looks like that. So the Bible says he went down, yet and still he was all the way up. Why? Because he was in the right place at the right time. That's crazy, y'all. He's a slave, just came out of a pit in Egypt, a country that he didn't grow up in, that he knows nothing about, yet he's still in the right place at the right time. You're telling me, I can only imagine if Joseph had went to a Bible study that night and the preacher sitting up there preaching talking about you in the right place at the right time, and Joseph's like, who? You must be talking about them, because you must don't know what's going on in my life right now. My brothers hated me and you telling me I'm in the right place at the right time. I everybody. They was all in the right place at the right time. Whatever. Joseph, he was in the right place at the right time.
Yes.
But if he would have tried to make sense of it, he wouldn't have been able to see it.
Right, my Lord.
So guess what? The journey doesn't always have to make sense. That's what some of you need to see. The journey doesn't have to make sense. It just has to make God. As long as God is in control, it doesn't have to make sense. The road, the path, how you get there doesn't have to make sense. The only thing that has to matter is the fact that I'm following Jesus. And if I'm following Jesus, then guess what? I will get there. Stop trying to make sense of everything in your life. I'm talking to the believer now. Everything don't apply to everybody, okay? Talking to the person who's following Jesus Christ. Everything in your life does not have to make sense when you're moving forward. Because for one, is it even faith if you can see it? Why would I need faith if I can see it? Why would I need a GPS system if I know where I'm going? Dana, I know where I'm going. Ask me, do I need a GPS? I know where I'm going. I need no GPS. If I know where I'm... No, just playing. That happened the other day. That was a conversation we had in our car the other day. Lady, stop asking him where he know how to get there. No, I'm just playing. We wouldn't need Jesus if we could see exactly where we're going. Remember, what's the dream? It's nothing more than a glimpse of the end without the middle connected to it. There's a journey, and the journey requires our faith. That's why, listen, stop. You're going to lose your mind trying to make sense of it, Kiara. Let me talk to you. Kiara, look right here. You're going to lose your mind trying to make sense of everything that you've experienced in your life. Avi, you are going to lose it trying to make sense of it. Who else? Who else do I need to tell it to? Trish, you're going to lose it trying to make sense of it. Mother, you're going to lose it trying to make sense of it. Everything on the journey does not have to make sense. That's why God gave us this story, so that we can see, even though it doesn't make sense, that doesn't mean it's not God. God was part of the journey. He had paved the path. Joseph, he didn't do anything to deserve to be in a pit. He didn't do anything to deserve to be sold. He didn't do anything to deserve to find himself in Egypt. But guess what? Egypt was his destiny. Yes. Whatever our destiny is, God will get us there. We just got to trust and have faith. And don't worry about it if it doesn't make sense. Look at somebody and say, stop tripping. It don't have to make sense. I'm teaching, okay? Well, one interesting fact that is absent from the text is the time span. The time span from when he went into the pit to the time he was promoted. We go to that verse 2 and 3, we see that he was successful, the Lord was with him, Potiphar saw it, he was promoted, but text, it omits or leaves off, whether on purpose or accident, because the Bible is very intentional about times and dates. And they let us know he was 17, but they didn't tell us how old he was by the time he actually made it to Egypt. Didn't tell us how old he was when he was promoted in Potiphar's house. So we don't know if that was 21 days. We don't know if it was 2 years or 3 years. We don't know exactly how long it was, Teresa, because it's omitted. So for all we know, it could have been a little while. And at some point, I have to believe that Joseph had to ask God, when? He had the dream. He knew it was God because he had two of them. When you get multiple verifications for part of God. You know, like wind. It's some stuff that he told me that I've seen, 15 years ago, and it's not a matter of me questioning now if that was God, because I know it was God. It's just a matter of like, when? Is anybody in there like that? Is anybody right there now where you like, okay, God, when? It's not even a factor of if it was you. It's not even a factor of if you said it. I'm just like, okay, when, God? You told me that I'd be financially free. Well, guess what, God? It ain't happened yet, so when it's going to happen? You told me you was going to give me a spouse. You told me to get ready to be a wife. You told me to get ready to be a husband, and I ain't even got a girlfriend yet. Ain't nobody asked me for my number, God, in 2 years, but you told me to get ready for a spouse. Come on now. When is he coming? When is she coming? God, you told me I would have a successful business. I saw the end. You showed me the sign. Okay, God, that was 10 years ago, and I can't even get one thing sold. What's up, God? When? At some point, I believe that Joseph asked that question, and that lets me know or suggests to me that the journey, it requires patience. The journey requires, I'm trying to help somebody this morning.
Yes, go ahead.
The journey requires patience. What is patience? It's waiting, Hillary. It's waiting. But patience is, Hillary, not just about waiting, but it's how you wait. Okay? Because you know what, to be honest with you, we can't make God give us nothing. So at the end of the day, we all wait. But that doesn't mean you have patience. Right? If I was to lock you in that room and told you, wait till I let you out, what would be the difference of having patience and just waiting? If you have patience, you just sit there and be like, okay, well, he's going to open the door at some point. If you didn't have patience, you'd be kicking and screaming and trying to bust down the door, right? Even though you're still waiting for me to let you out. It's the way that you're waiting. So patience, it's not just waiting, but it's how you wait. And Dana can vouch for this, man. My daughter, Haley, OMG, is one of the most impatient people that I know. I don't know, maybe y'all change. Anybody got some children that's like that? But my daughter is one of the most impatient. Listen, 5 seconds is too long a wait for her. 5 seconds, hold on. The microwave ain't done yet, it ain't over yet. What do you want me to do? Blow on it like I'm a fire-breathing dragon or something? You're gonna have to wait for it, right? So ever since she was like 2 years old, ask her in the hallway and be like, Haley, what does patience mean? She probably look at you like, really, did my daddy say something about that? So ever since she was like 2 or 3 years old, I should tell her, patience means wait. What does patience mean? When she gets to that point, Amy start tripping. I said, what does patience mean? It means wait. So the first couple of years from, maybe like 2 to 3 to maybe like 4 or 5, I used the verbal teaching for it, right? Because I wanted to teach her what patience was. So I teach her, patience means wait, patience means wait. What does patience mean? What it means wait. But now it's different, right? So I've had to change my teaching method because the verbal part, it ain't really working. So get ready to take note. The verbal part, I tried for a couple of years, it don't work. I still say what is patience mean wait, but it ain't really working no more. So what I've done now is when she wants something and she doesn't get it immediately and she goes into her impatient acting mode, what I'll do is I'll say, you're not going to get it now. As a matter of fact, I'm going to add 5 more minutes to it. Oh, she goes crazy, like nuts. But what am I teaching her? That it's not just about waiting, but it's how you wait. If you're going to wait tripping, complaining, and crying, and whining, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how complaining, crying, and whining, it doesn't get you what you want. As a matter of fact, what it does is it's going to make it take longer for you to actually get it. What's the point, Pastor? I believe that God deals with us like that it's not just about waiting, but it's about patience. It's how we wait. When we're complaining, when we're crying, when we're whining, I believe that it sometimes pushes out the timeline and the time frame from us receiving what God wants us to have.
That's good. Wow.
So what does that mean? That means that your how could possibly determine your when. How you wait. We have no record of Joseph being a complainer, a whiner, or a crier. But if he was, it could have possibly pushed back the promotion. Who am I talking to right now? I'm talking to the person who you're not waiting patiently for the next stop. You're not waiting patiently. You're complaining, you're crying, God, why am I not here? God, when you gonna do it? God, when you gonna... There's a possibility that that action is what causing God to close up his hands. Okay, Pastor, you gotta help me out. How do I wait patiently? Okay, take some notes, write this down. How do I wait on the journey? One, you gotta rehearse the dream. Waiting is the hardest part of the journey. This is all practical today. This ain't no shout for you. This is practical, right? You can't apply a shout on tomorrow morning, all right? So today is all practical. How do I wait? One, you gotta rehearse the dream. You gotta rehearse the dream. There's no way that you can't tell me that when he was in the pit, Joseph wasn't rehearsing the dream. That when he was in the back of the slave trader's trailer, that he wasn't rehearsing the dream. What's out there, he would have gave up. He would have quit. He had to rehearse. He had to remind himself, I'm going somewhere. I'm going to be somebody. So when your money is funny and your change is strange, guess what? Instead of giving up, instead of complaining, instead of crying, instead of whining, you got to start rehearsing the dream. Yeah. Rehearsing the place that God showed you would be. You got to start, if you got to go and write it down, because all of y'all, especially everybody at the Link Church, you got your vision and stuff written down, right? Yeah. Huh? Yeah. Y'all need to go back and watch back to part 1 of January forward. We should have our vision, our dream, our goals written down, because when it's written down, guess what? It's easy, Jessica, for you to go back and read it and remind yourself. Because guess what? We're all going to find ourselves in a time where we could lose our faith. That's it. But when we can rehearse the dream, if we can keep the dream on the forefront, we know where we're going. The destination. The GPS, when you put the destination in there, if you look at it from the long view, it shows you where you're going, but it always has the point of the end of the destination. It shows you as you travel. This, what you wrote down, the dream, the goal, that's the end. And what you can do when you're waiting, when it gets hard, and you're like, God, I'm tired of this, I'm tired of fighting for it, I'm tired of waiting for it, rehearse the dream. Some of you, what my wife does now, what she started, is affirmations, right? So every morning, she speaks out where she's going and who she is, right? So sometimes that's what you got to do, especially if you don't even know what you're going to encounter for the day. So if that works for you, put that down as something. I'm going to write my goals down, and I'm going to speak them every morning. I'm going to say it every morning. Right? I don't know. You're going to be a chef, so you wake up in the morning because you already know I got a test today. I might fail. It's hard. I don't know if I'm going to get approved for the loan next semester. So I'm going to have to wake up every morning and say, I am a chef. Yeah. I am a chef. Yeah. I am a pastry cook. I am a chef. And then when 2 or 3 o'clock come and you want to give up and you want to quit because it's too hard, you don't have money, you didn't get what you wanted to get, they denied you for the loan every day, you got all this built up, you've been rehearsing the dream. That's what I'm a chef. I can't give up right now because I know who I am. I can't give up right now because I know where I'm going. I am a doctor. I am a PhD. I finished my master's program. Where's Kiara at? It's going to get rough. It's going to get hard. But guess what? If you continue to rehearse the dream that I'm a school counselor, I help kids as a counselor. Guess what? When you want to quit the program, when you want to stop writing papers, Kiara, you'll just be able to rehearse the dream, and it will motivate you to keep going on the journey. I don't know what your dream is, but whatever it is, when you feel like it's not worth the fight anymore, you just got to rehearse the dream. Rehearse the dream. What else do I have to do besides rehearsing the dream? You got to remember God's promises. God got to always stay in it, right? You got to remember God's promises. You got to find the promises in the Word of God that apply to your dream or what you need. If it's nothing more than the Bible says that those who wait upon Him shall what? Renew their strength. I mean, God, if I wait, if I got patience, you're going to give me the strength to keep going. You got to find promises that keep you focused. Promises that keep you moving forward. Because guess what? Don't forget, we got an enemy in this, man. Yes, sir. We got an enemy in this. The Potiphar saw God through Joseph. He said, said the Lord is with him. Don't forget, this is an Egyptian guard. So they didn't serve the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. They had all these false gods and all these idol gods. But in Joseph, he saw God. So I'm sure at some point, Joseph had an opportunity to share who his God was, because on multiple occasions, Potiphar said, I know that the Lord is with him. That's why he promoted him. Who is the Lord? Joseph had to tell him. So at the end of the day, the promotion just wasn't about Joseph, but it was about God's name being spread throughout. Your promotion is not just tied to you and your name, but God wants to get his name out through your promotion. So that's why you got an enemy. We're not going through this today. Come back, we'll probably talk about the temptation that Joseph had to endure by this woman, but that was nothing more than Satan trying to rob and steal and take him out of his destiny.
Yes, yes.
But the promises of God keep us moving forward in spite of the stumbling block that Satan tried to put in our way. So you got to rehearse the dream. You got to remember God's promises. And the last one, how do you wait on the journey? Replace complaining with praise. That's what you got to do, because guess what? You're going to always have a reason to complain. I don't care how much you tithe. I don't care how much you give. I don't care how much you pray. I don't care how much you read. I don't care how much you fast. Guess what? There's always going to be obstacles. Like I said last week, obstacles are part of the journey. And when you face the obstacle, you will have a reason to complain. But to wait patiently, I'm going to have to replace my complaining with a praise. How do I do that? Every time I want to complain, guess what? Because you got one reason to complain, but you can find 20 reasons that you can praise him for. Man, it's not working out like I want. But guess what? I'm glad I made it this far. I'm glad I'm still alive. I'm glad I can pay my bills. I ain't sold what I want this month with the new business, but I'm glad I got my health. I'm glad I got my right mind. I'm glad God kept me and kept my faith. Ebony, we always got a reason to praise. We always got a reason to complain. But it's our choice on which one we decide to do. So while we're waiting on God to come through, we just got to make the choice to praise instead of complain. Okay, so that's how we wait. How do we wait? Rehearse the dream, remember God's promises, and replace complaining with praise. Another interesting fact that is absent, and I'm almost out of it, I'm almost done, is the text does not talk about the changes and the adjustments that Joseph had to make. He had to make some major changes and adjustments. Pastor, how is that? He came from a rural environment and moved into Egypt. Egypt was one of the finest and wealthiest cities in the world at that time. So he had to adjust. They spoke a different language than he did. They had different jobs than he did. They wore different clothes than he did. What does that suggest to me is that the journey is going to require changes and adjustments. You're going to have to make some changes and make some adjustments in 2018 if you plan to move forward and reach the goals that you want to reach. It's nothing you can do about it. It's going to be required. Because why? Because what got you here is not going to get you there. Simple. What got Joseph there to Egypt was not going to be what was going to allow him to be promoted. He was going to have to learn the language of the Egyptians. He was going to have to learn how they dress. He was going to have to get accustomed to eating their cuisine. See, he's better than me, because I wouldn't have been able to eat nothing. I can't eat nothing outside of what I already eat. I already got, if I ain't ate it by 37, then I don't need to eat it, okay? That's just me, all right? But he, without him adjusting to the new culture, without him making those changes, guess what? He wouldn't have been successful. What got you here is not going to be, it's not going to get you there. You didn't have to work as hard as an employee, but guess what? You're going to have to work hard if you're going to be an employer. What it took to start the business is not going to be what it takes to keep it going. It's not going to be what it takes to grow. What it took to get to job is not going to be what it takes to become a manager at your job. What it took to get a GED, it's going to take a whole lot more than that to get a PhD. If you want more, if you're trying to go to a place that you've never been, guess what? You're going to have to make some changes and adjustments. A couple of changes and adjustments that are guaranteed that you will have to make is one, your thoughts.
Yes.
Joseph had to change the way that he thought. Why? Because he was groomed to be a part of shepherding. That's what his dad did. That's what his brothers did. That's what he was going to become. But the Bible told us that he was now, when Potiphar promoted him, was over his entire affairs. That means he was over the money. He was over the people that worked there. He was over his housing. If he had any estates, whatever he had, it said that Joseph was over it. So he could no longer think just like somebody who was going to make sure that the shepherds, that the sheep had food and water. He was going to have to take his thinking to another level. The place that you're going to go, you can no longer think. He couldn't think like a slave while trying to be a boss.
All right. That's good. Right.
You're not going to be able to have wretched thinking if you want to be a boss. You're not going to be able to think like somebody with a GED if you try to do business with people with PhDs. Doesn't mean you had to be, it doesn't mean you had to get a PhD, but you better try to figure out how they think. You've been an employee your whole life, and you're going to try to do business with other CEOs and other employers. Guess what? You're going to learn how to think like one, because there's a different thought process than a person who just goes, clocks in, work 8 hours, and leaves, than the person who actually owns the company, because there is no 8-hour days when you own the company. You work 23 hours a day. While you sleep, you thinking, your brain is going, you dreaming about it, you eating it. It's a different thought process. If you're trying to move forward, you're going to have to think differently. He had to think differently to go from being a slave to a boss. Another thing that I know for a fact that he had to change was his community. He got to a new place, and I'm pretty sure he wasn't the only slave there, because the Israelites, they went through there. He might have had some slaves that came from the same place, but guess what? He couldn't hang with them. He couldn't spend time with them. Why? Because he had a whole lot of stuff he had to learn.
This is good, sir.
He had to learn a new language. He couldn't do that spending time with the same people that already knew his language.
All right.
He had to learn how to dress in a new culture. He couldn't do that spending all his time with people who already dressed like where he came from. Eating a new cuisine, he couldn't learn none of those things, so he had to spend his time with people who were already where he wanted to be, who were already doing the thing that he wanted to do. He had to spend his time with people who spoke Egyptian. He had to spend his time with people who dressed like him, who ate like him. So what would that do? That would help him learn the language, get accustomed to the food, and learn how to dress. We're going to have to change the people in our community if we want to move forward. Why? It's part of the journey. And guess what? When we're on the journey and the Lord is with us, it's a guaranteed success. Joseph was successful, not because he was so good, not because he was so great, but the Bible said it was because the Lord was with him. That's what our success is tied to as believers, is the Lord being with us. Question I have for you as I'm done is the Lord with you? Is he with you? I know you come to visit him on Sunday morning. I know you come to experience him on Sunday morning, but is he with you daily? Is this just something you do on Sunday mornings, meet him, or does he live down on the inside of you? Do you walk with him daily? Do you talk with him daily? You know God is with you. If he's not, then guess what? You can leave here knowing that the Lord is with me. And we know from the story of Joseph that when he's with he's with you. What we're going to do, as most of you know, we're going to count down from 3, jump to our feet. Give God a crazy praise, sing this song with Lady Dana about how good God is. But what really makes God so good is that he gave you another opportunity to allow him to be the Lord of your life. If you've never accepted Jesus Christ as your personal Lord and Savior, today can be the beginning of a new journey. Without Jesus, you're not on his journey, you're just on your journey. But the blessings that God has for you, they're only tied and connected to his journey. The peace that God wants you to have in your life, it's only on the road on his journey. The joy, the peace that he wants you to have, it's only on his journey. The promotions that he wants you to have, it's only on his journey. Everything that you need, it's on his journey. And it starts with you accepting Jesus Christ as your personal Lord and Savior. If you've never done that, when we jump to our feet, you can come down and you can accept him.